I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the
and
republic
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This evening, we will have a brief budget development presentation by the superintendent. I can't believe that it's already the time to start considering the budget. There are 2 points when there may be questions. You use the chat feature to indicate what your question is. Please indicate your name because your screen doesn't always show your name. Steve will assist in presenting those questions. If you could, put a topic as well to it. This way we can coordinate the groups of questions if there are groups. Just makes it a little easier to read through it. There are 2 points where you may ask questions. One in Roman numeral 4 relating to the agenda, and then at the end. We ask that you limit your question in the chat to 1 topic, 1 question. Otherwise, it gets lost in the group and we can't get back to it. With that, I'll move to approval of the minutes. I'll ask Rob if you'll take that, please.
Approval of the minutes. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the minutes of the November 18, 2020 regular meeting as submitted.
Thank you, Rob. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate orally aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Gordon, if you'll proceed with the budget presentation.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on this snowy evening. This is a short presentation that will introduce the topics that we will talk about each month through May. This is the intro. January, we get right into it, which I will show you in 1 second. Ken, you there?
Here.
Do you have the PowerPoint on? Yes, thank you. You can skip that one and go right to the next slide, January.
Hold on.
Okay. All right, next slide, please. Great, thank you, Ken. In January, it's hard to say that, especially January 2021. The budget workshop topics will be as follows. The Board of Education's budget, central administration, which is district office, insurance for the district, central printing, which is basically the lease of all of our machines that print. And it deserves clarification for the BOCES administrative charges. BOCES is a co-op. Bob pointed this out nicely. This is like our dues to belong to BOCES. It's not paying for the services. Those are separate charges. We pay our part of the co-op to belong to BOCES. And it's a pretty heavy charge each year. Transportation, we predict generally it goes up 2% per year. Hope that'll be the same. Technology, that's Ken. And then finally, debt service, that's the loans, the debt of the district. That's next month in January. Ken? In February, we hit the instructional areas. Right now, the principals and directors are working on their budgets for their buildings and what they need for instruction. And then Dr. Timo meets with each one of them and either tells them to go back to the drawing board and, lower what they're asking for. And then when she's finished, she meets with us, with each director. And we, again, Linda and I, review these budgets, and we generally send them all the way from the table to re-examine and look at what they wish to spend. Especially this year, it's key. It's a tight budget. So everyone has to, be realistic when they're, what they're asking for. Then pupil personnel services, a very large part of the budget. I really want to point out that involves special education. For years, people think that we cut the special education budget. The budget for special education is based on the student population in special education. You can't add or subtract from what our students need. That is the actual cost of what students need in that part of the budget. We may get students enrolling in the spring or even over the summer who need a large group of services and might increase that budget by 120,000. So you never cut a special education budget by law. If they need the services, you have to pay for it. Then there's the guidance budget, and ancillary areas include driver education and adult education. In March, and that's where we actually did our first Zoom meeting a year ago from this meeting, and experimented the first non-live board meeting. That's where it all started. Hopefully, we'll see where we are in March. But the budget workshop topics will be operation and maintenance.
Gordon, could I stop you there?
Sure,
Ken, you're
absolutely.
one screen ahead of Gordon.
No, I'm on March 17th now.
Okay, he's dropped back. Thank you.
Operation and maintenance, grounds and security. That's for our guards. Athletics, we always beat up Scott and send him back. And then the largest part, and the most important part in our budget process happens in March, and that's salaries and benefits. And that's key again, because our fund balance will be diminishing somewhat. And we're actually almost a year away from negotiating the teacher's contract. So all of these things are very important, but March is a very important month. April 21st, when we finish with all those presentations, we will make our final proposal to the board. April 21st, the board will accept the budget or not. And assuming they do, we finally can, in May, this is in a very important month, the budget hearing and the board meeting. That's after the board accepts it. We present it out to the public again, because a week later, on May 18th, we have the vote. And that'll be here before you know it. As Bob said before, I can't believe we're talking about budget already for next year, for 2021, 22, that budget is 21 to 22. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Bob. Those are the topics. Linda and I will be preparing over the next few weeks the January presentation.
Any questions, Steve? I don't see any listed.
Nothing yet.
Okay. It'll be an interesting time. Last year, January, December into January, little did we know what we'd be coming into. I think it is right now a fiction. What will the state aid be and where we stand? We'll see. A lot of things had to be done this year that we would never have thought of having to spend or do. We often talked about the fund balance as a rainy day fund. I didn't expect to be addressing it with this pandemic. So we'll see how things wash out in January through March as we move forward. Without any questions, let's move on to personnel, section 5. Anne Marie, would you start for us, please? Number 1.
Sure. Personnel resignations. James Mattias, Network and Systems Coordinator, resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of James Mattias, Network and Systems Coordinator, effective December 4th, 2020.
May I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye. Aye. Okay. Number two, please.
Sure.
Ed?
Lindsay Sorensny, remote education, special education teacher. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Lindsay Sorensny, remote special education teacher, effective December 8th, 2020.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This young lady got a full-time position in another district. That's why she.
We wish her well. Any other comments? All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Aye. Very good. 3, Lisa?
Sharon Oliveri, Office Assistant, part-time, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Sharon Oliveri, Office Assistant, part-time, effective December 19th, 2020.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pete, number 4?
Number 4, Karen Schley, School District Aide. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Karen Schley, School District Aide, effective December 3rd, 2020.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
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 Thank you. And on the next page, Susan Lau, number 1. Rob?
Susan Lau, leave replacement, Art. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following leave replacement appointment. Name of employee Susan Lau, appointment date December 14th, 2020 through June 25th, 2021. Area, Art. Compensation, step A, MA.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 2, Pete?
Number 2, Genevieve Carleo, leave replacement, special education. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following leave replacement appointment. Genevieve Carleo, December 8th, 2020 through June 25th, 2021. Special education, step A, MA.
Thank you, Pete. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 3, Lisa?
Alyssa Sardone, leave replacement, elementary, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following leave replacement appointment. Name of employee, Alyssa Sardone, appointment date December 8th, 2020 through January 29th, 2021. Area, elementary, compensation, step A, MA.
Thank you, Lisa. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
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 Aye. And C, Anne Marie?
Substitute teachers, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments as listed.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments?
I just make a comment. Two of the, I'm familiar with two of the substitute teachers are both former Mount Sinai alumni. And I guess they're coming back in the field to help our school district out. Two outstanding students, actually, also.
Very nice to see.
Mary Ellen Karen and Victoria Johnson. Sorry, Bob. Mary Ellen Karen, Victoria Johnson.
Any other comments? All in favor,
Christina
please
Gully is
indicate
up.
aye.
Christina Gully is a
Oh, Gully, yeah.
Yeah,
Her
She's
mother is a teacher too.
previous Mount Sinai graduate.
Very nice to see. All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Very good. And I have what is otherwise an unnumbered paragraph. The next one being Alexander AIDS. Ed, would you please take that on the top of the next page?
For school district aides, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments. Alexandria Sanator, as of December 15th, 2020, for as a substitute aide at $13.25 an hour. Alexa Sotaro, effective December 11th, 2020, as an aide as step 1, and Karen Schley, effective December 18th, 2020, as a substitute aide at $13.25.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rob.
Also
Any
an
comments?
alumni list.
All in favor, indicate aye.
Aye.
And E. Ed, would you take E?
E. Mark Anderson, Network and Systems Technician. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment for Mark Anderson as of December 28th, 2020, as a Network and Systems Technician for Step 1.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Rob's earning his pay today. Any comments? All in favor, please indicate aye. I think Ken would be happy about this.
Aye.
Aye.
And Steve, action items, educational, A.
Committee on Special Education, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education has no objections in the following special education recommendations. It approves the authorization for funds to implement the special education programs and services consistent with such as listed.
Thank you, Steve. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second that.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. And B, bid award. Back to you, Rob.
You're skipping A, Bob, or?
Oh, did I skip A? Sorry. Thank you very much. Would you mind taking A? I missed that.
Okay.
Thank you.
A, annual risk assessment. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the annual risk assessment report and internal audit report on termination retirement pay as submitted by the firm of Rizzi, Schwartz, and Tarasakis for the 2019-20 school year, and further accepts the corrective action plan as submitted.
Second.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rob, for catching that. Any other comments? All in favor
Second.
indicate aye.
Aye.
And for B, Anne Marie?
Bid award Ballfield Groomer. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the bid from Michael Dionisio in the amount of $200 for the purchase of Sandpro 3WD bunker rake ballfield infield groomer.
May I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pete, C?
C, memorandum of agreement, Administrators Association, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the memorandum of agreement with the Administrators Association dated December 16th, 2020.
I have
Second.
a second. Thank you very much. Any comments? All in favor indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
D, obsolete equipment.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby declares the following items as obsolete and further authorizes disposal as listed. VCR tapes, golf bags, VCR DVD combo, and a 2006 model TV VCR DVD. Nothing that interesting this month.
Nothing terribly interesting today. the 5 golf bags of the superintendent. He doesn't need 5, he only needs 10. Well, may I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Any comments? I was only joking. All in favor, indicate aye.
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 I'll take the final item. This is a personnel matter that was not on the printed agenda and will be available after the meeting. Resolution at the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Mount Sinai Union Free School District, Suffolk County, New York, held on December 16th, 2020. The following resolution is offered by and seconded by. May I have a second with regard to this resolution?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Whereas the Superintendent Gordon Brosdale has presented to the board a certain charge and specifications against an aide/monitor, and whereas the Board of Education desires to provide the employee with due process protections provided under Section 75 of the New York Civil Service Law to consider all matters pertaining to the preferred charges and specifications and any stigmatizing effect such charges and specifications may incur. Now and therefore it is hereby resolved that the preferred notice of charge and specifications are to be served upon the respondent employee, that she is to be suspended without pay for a period of 30 days from the date of service and during the course of the hearing procedures, and that the Honorable Regina M. Caffarella is appointed as the hearing officer to consider and make findings of facts and recommendations to the board subsequent to the completion of the hearing. Madam Clerk, please note the members present, and also note that prior hereto, Lisa Pfeffer and Rob Pignatello have requested to abstain from voting.
So noted.
Having read the resolution, those of you in favor, please indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those voting against the resolution? Hearing none, the vote carries. Madam Clerk, you may coordinate at the earliest possible time the service of process of the charges.
Will do.
Questions and comments from the community overall?
We have a couple.
Steve?
The first one is from Brad Harrington related to personnel. With the rapid resignation of James Matias and Ken's pending retirement, what is the district's plan for technology support?
All right, now, if I may answer, Ken is extending the time of his retirement and staying with us. We certainly were caught off guard with that person resigning so soon, with 3 degrees, excellent credentials, smart person. But I think he saw the challenge of all the work that had to be done. Ken doesn't have regular hours during the day and often runs into weekends. It might have frightened a young father away, the amount of time that this would take and responsibility. I don't think he realized the magnitude, even though he worked with Ken. So correct me if I'm wrong, Maureen, but we're reposting.
Yes, we've already sent out 22 new Canvas letters.
But Ken, to support Ken, which was Brad's question, we do have a 3rd technician, which was just approved by the board. I thank them for that. Ken also hired a secretary to help him out. He had an excellent one for a number of years who moved to his secretarial position in a building. So he's been functioning without a 3rd technician. They were coming and going too, Brad. And now he thinks he has a real good one. So he's got a full force. He won't be so demanding on him, and we'll get right to grabbing the best candidates to start the whole process over again. And today I was told we have BOCES is sending 2 people our way that I'm eager to interview also.
Okay, our next question is from Kerry Anderson. This is related to remote learning. What is the plan for moving forward to improve the remote learning schedule for elementary students? Example, will there be more live teaching and teachers more available to students? And before you do an answer for that, Karen Pitka also has a similar question, which probably have the answer together. Will they be expected to follow a set schedule if we do go remote, a schedule including lunch, recess, and special areas, music, art, and PE worked in?
We just started talks with the union again this week about the elementary level. We have the remote teachers about the time of the current remote learning, which is aligned with other districts. We've learned a lot since the summer and where we are now. I'll have to talk to Mr. Catlin and the union about the specials. I think that I'm not going to commit to that and answer there, but those teachers are available. I thought all teachers would be kind of teaching online and providing instruction, but I want to look into it, find out where it is, make sure the union, Mr. Catlin and I have a good understanding of elementary. And I would say, yes, it'll be on a schedule, so you know when to expect the instruction, just like we did in grades 7 through 12. Teachers teach to their schedule. So I will have a good discussion with him on Friday about that.
And we have a follow-up question from Karen Petko related to safety. Can the district look into providing shields or another barrier for the lunch aides in the elementary classes because students are eating and not wearing their masks?
One more time, Steve, on that was.
Can the district look into providing shields or another barrier for the lunch aides in the elementary classes because students are eating and not wearing their masks?
All right, I could talk to Scott about the cost of that, those shields. Karen has emailed me about the shield prospect. I think they have them in her district. So let me speak to Mr. Catlin and Scott Ray about it.
We do have, I think most of the students, depending on the class, some of the students are eating behind their shields that are at their desk. And the desk shields are relatively inexpensive. The question would become, for example, could we also consider face shields for the aides to wear, certainly during that time period? The more covering, the better. Whatever safety we could provide to them in their service to the district is more than appreciated, but necessary.
Okay, we'll have that discussion.
Thank you, Gordon.
I have a question, and I apologize for saying your last name incorrectly. I think it's Christy Bonnie. Where are we in the process for COVID testing in the school and bringing high school students back full time?
Well, that's actually a two-way edged sword right there, because with the COVID numbers rising, especially Shore and Wing River has their kids back, they're not going through the roof. I speak to Jerry like every other day. So on the other hand, we're looking at the governor labeling districts yellow. I spoke to Lars Clemson at length in Hampton Bays, who was labeled yellow district, what he went through, what he had to do when the Department of Health came in. I just spoke to John Dolan, superintendent of East Islip. The Department of Health they called him, said, we're giving you 2 days, we're coming in. That's all he got. That was his warning. And so I ran our setup, our 3 testing centers, what we have in place, our plans. Our nurses are trained. They're getting fitted for the N95 masks either Friday or Monday next week. We are ready to go. Now, I don't know, and others don't know, if you're going to be called or considered a yellow zone. Some superintendents feel they're going to go right to orange and surpass yellow because the yellows haven't been happening too quickly. It's still 20% in an orange zone, but you have to test 10% every 2 weeks. That's the difference. And now the governor did close schools under red. No schools are being closed at all in any zone. It just changes how much has to be tested. It's 30% in red. We have no indication from the Department of Health that that's going to happen. And we have talked with the board about what we could do to get students back, but I don't think until we get back from Christmas and see what's happening, especially after the cases we suddenly had in the elementary today, I'm not recommending in the next 4 weeks or so to move more students back in the high school. But we have had very good discussions. Bob can speak to you about it, about juniors back first, seniors. Do we get 7th and 8th back? Those are the questions. We want to, but not when the numbers are rising and we can be called a zone.
I think to add to that is presently it's in the community's hands and what you're doing. We just learned of a number of students in the elementary school. It's a little jarring, the fact that it's showing up in the elementary school. Some of these included socialization parents admitting that they attended things without masks. They intermixed with different play groups. The reality of it is that that's defined by what you are doing in the community. We started this year below 1%. We had great plans going forward. We saw great opportunity as we went forward to continue to move towards instruction in the classroom, also interscholastic activities. And presently, to be frank, it appears that either out of an unwillingness or an uncertainty, that's not happening. And the definition will be what the community does. At a 5 or 6% transmission rate, I don't think you should be expecting to see that there will be full-time 1,000 students in the building in the high school. It's not realistic. I'm more worried about us going the other way. We're working so hard to keep the buildings open, keep everything restricted in the best way possible, even when we've had the outbreaks that we've had. But each week they've been getting more. This elementary school outbreak has been a little troubling. So frankly, I don't see that happening in the near future, and that will be defined on what we see coming into after Christmas. We've already seen what's happened after Thanksgiving, but that's a community thing. We can't control what goes on beyond the building.
We have one further question. It actually springboards off this entire topic regarding testing from Krista Stout. What percentage of consent has been gathered to date, and are we close to the 20% required?
Yes, that's a good question. What we needed was 20%. We have that, but as I shared with another parent, we made these videos that are posted. I made an announcement referring to them yesterday. Each building did. Of course, the elementary is very student friendly, to show them what the test is like at the very tip of the nose, 5 swirls in each nostril. So they can watch the videos and see it's not really a terrible process. But speaking to those other districts who were tested, there are kids who get frightened the day of the test, and you can't make them do it. So if you're right at 20%, it's where we are. We're maybe a few percent over. We're still trying to get more and get the percent higher in case it comes down on us suddenly. If everyone participated, that'd be great. And our parents, I thanked them yesterday. I thanked them again. The test really is not anything harmful. And then there'll be time in the afternoon, on one afternoon for the elementary, where parents will actually be able to bring their child in. We're looking at that. So to answer the question, we have the percent. Thank you, community. But I still would like to get some more. And obviously the faculty is very forward-coming because they want to get a free COVID test and not stand in line at City MD for 3 hours.
There's also talk, Gordon, that at some point, if the same people are being tested, the state may mandate a percentage of random testing. In other words, you can't keep using the same people. And that's why it's so important to have a buffer. If we could be upwards of 25 or 28%, it gives us the ability to mix. You might have a student who has some anxiety over it, that we have the ability to switch so that we can keep open. It's nothing like a PCR test. It's a rather less invasive test. But the more we can have in order to remain open in a yellow zone, the better, because the buffer would help us.
Yeah, and I saw the question Kerry just asked. I asked John Dolan in East Islip the same question. Well, what happens? And he said, the funny thing is, after the Department of Health came in there like a whirlwind and left, they wouldn't answer his question. He asked, are you going to test me again? And if so, when? They had no answer for that. But out there, I have read that if you continue to be hot zone, hot community, there's nothing saying that a few months later, they're not going to come back and test you again. So we would need a much larger pool and have to go to the community with that. So Kerry, no, don't know. if we do this, if that's going to suffice. You don't know.
And Gordon, you made an excellent point about yellow to orange. One of the districts further west and south is dealing with that right now, where they're most likely going to be deemed directly to an orange zone. So it is definitely something that has been occurring, and
Yeah, a lot of
testing at that point what they're doing.
Right,
Yeah.
Steve, thinking
Yeah.
they're just going to move past that to orange and red.
I think you'll get more consents too from the second cohort in the high school, because I was actually going to send mine in tomorrow with my son, but
Well,
No,
it's not too late. It's not too late to send it in. If you're consenting, get it into us so we have it on record. It's certainly a help. The more we can have, the better. Look, if I had my way, we would have pool testing, and a lot of the colleges use testing the sewage, so you know what's going on in the building. Those are things that they're doing in the university setting. Look, in the end, it's all driven to how do we keep these kids in the classroom? How do we get more into the building? Let's hope that in the next months to come, it's positive news that we come back after the Christmas break, the holiday break, and New Year's for good news that we see our rates going down and we can start thinking again positively going forward. I'm hopeful, so let's see.
I think it's important for people to understand and realize too, that the reasoning behind the way they're doing the testing in the zones is to ensure and prove that while the community's numbers may be going up, it's not propagating in the school. The school's numbers are staying level or lower than what the community numbers are. And that's the whole reason why they have the yellow zone, orange zone, and the testing at the 20% level. The purpose of this is to say the school's a safe place and to keep it open. That's part of the reason why the governor set this up and why the whole program has been established, to keep it open.
Right, Steve, and even the governor now said the schools are the safest place.
So we all want to keep it open.
All right.
That's it for questions.
Without any other questions, thank you all. We wish you a happy and most importantly, safe holiday season, and be well to you and your families. To my colleagues on the board, this has been certainly since September, quite a lot of work that you've had to do. You have put in a great deal of time, all volunteer work. You are a gift to this community, every one of you, and I thank you for your service, your assistance, and all that you've done in the past months to keep this operation going and all that's been going on. I wish you all well, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you. All in favor indicate aye.
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 Have a good holiday and thank you all.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Holidays.
Yeah.
Stay safe.